morning, my wonderful witches, and a happy Samhain or happy Halloween to you. Today I'm going to take you along through my personal Samhain celebrations. I did celebrate already the 16th of October, and in case you're wondering why I'm not celebrating the 31st, you can find that info in my preparation for a Samhain vlog. And I also have a little bit of information in there about what the holiday is about the harvest aspect of it, and the Witches New Year aspect of it. And today in my actual celebration, I wanna more focus on the ancestor worship or remembrance of our ancestors. And I'm very excited to share some Samhain traditions and some magical rituals with you, as well as some bits of knowledge about Celtic and Germanic paganism, and in general the holiday itself. But first let's have a peek of what wicked things are to come today. Fun! So we're gonna start this day really cozy, relaxed and comfy. It's raining outside. So first we're going to do a little craft project for our ritual that we will perform later on tonight at nightfall. We are going to release soul ships. Soul ships are basically little floaties that you make out of natural materials. And there are two reasons why I chose this specific ritual for today. First of all, I wanna honor the people that came way before, that shaped traditions and cultures in the area that I live in. I live in southern Germany, so that means the Celts and the Germanic tribes. So with this being a day to honor the dead, and it's all about the afterlife, death, rebirth, or whatever else you believe in comes after dying, I looked more into the history of what the Celts believe came after this life. And obviously they were spread all through Europe, so they had different beliefs depending on the area. However, a very widespread and well-known idea was that the souls of the dead would at nightfall go down to the shore, and there would be a ship waiting for them that would sail them off to the other world. And the other world was just an island behind mist or behind a veil, hidden from our realm or our world. So today I want to craft my very own little soul ship and send it off in the river in the dark. And the second reason that I'm doing this is to honor my actual ancestors of blood, so my grandpa and my grandma that both have passed away, because I'm now living in their old farmhouse, and without their hard work and dedication that they put into this, I would never be able to live here. I'm obviously very grateful to them, and today I want to show that gratitude and really dedicate today to thinking of them. So don't go anywhere. I'm back. I collected a couple of things from around our property and also from around our forests. That really sounded as if we were really proper posh, but no, we are just farmers and everyone here has forests. It's just a lot of wood. Anyways, my grandfather was in the wood trade. So I went to the forest and I got a little bit of birch bark, because this will serve as a carrier, this will float on the water. And I also collected some grass from a meadow that I have very fond memories of, because I would always walk there with my grandpa and we would chat, and it was just very nice, and he would point out different birds and different trees and such. Then I collected some berries and some leaves from the hazel tree from the garden, and the very last rose that was still in the rose bush that my grandma loved so much, so I wanted to include that as well. And I think that's a cool way to make that a very personal little offering. And then when I'm done with the crafting and it's still raining, I plan on reading a book if the child lets me. It's this one here, and it was written by my uncle, and it's about the life of my grandma. From when she was a young teenager, when she was 14 years old, she had to flee with her many siblings from what is now Poland to the south of Germany by foot, because it was the Second World War. And it has all her personal anecdotes in there, like how she experienced the war at that young age, and also how she experienced being a refugee in a part of the country where people were not always welcoming and all that jazz. And I think it's sometimes really nice to really look into the history of the people that raised us, that shaped us, and that influenced us in a way to become who we are today. So let's brew some coffee and get cozy and comfy. Ein Stern für die Mami. Got a star. So now we've got everything prepared for tonight's lovely ritual. And it's still super gloomy and grey and cold and rainy outside. But I had planned to go outside and harvest the last of our nuts, our hazelnuts in the garden, because Samhain is also the third harvest festival, and I spoke about that more in my other vlog. And actually that's also a very traditional thing to do on Samhain or Halloween. In Scotland and England, Halloween or Samhain was referred to as Nutcracker Night. And that term derives from a tradition of gathering in the house around an open fire and then throwing nuts into the fire as a form of oracle. And also for us witches, Samhain is a perfect time of the year to do an oracle, as it's also the new year, the start in the new year. So if you have any kind of questions, you want to see what the new year might bring for you, you can do some tarot, some oracle cards, some runes or whatever else, or you can use nuts. And there are two traditional ways of doing that, and they're both love oracles. Let's say you're single and you want to know who of your many sweethearts will be the perfect one for you. You would collect the number of nuts that... You would collect a number of nuts depending on how many love interests you have. And you would name those nuts after the people you are interested in or that are interested in you. So you would throw them in a fire and then you would see which nut burned lightest and brightest, and that one would be your future spouse or partner or whatever. And the second way of going about this was more for people that were already in a relationship or especially in a new relationship. You would place two chestnuts next to each other in a fire. And if they then from the heat jumped apart, that would basically mean that your relationship was deemed to fail. However, if they did stuck together and just burned there at the spot, then it would mean that you have a happy marriage ahead of you. I don't really enjoy a nut bossing me around in my relationship, so I just gotta gather those nuts and then I'll bake something yummy out of it later on. But as it's still very wet, very grey and rainy outside, I thought I'd just get a fire started. We're gonna roast some chestnuts and then we have a place to warm our fingers when they're all cold from picking the nuts. Okay, so let's get dressed and then we're gonna venture out. Oh yeah? Wow. Back inside to warm up because it started pouring, and now I have a very cozy afternoon planned. We're gonna make some tea, we're gonna light some candles, and we're going to bake a traditional little treat. Because you know me, I love to celebrate with food. And I know in a lot of English-speaking countries you will have soul cakes, but here in Bavaria and in parts of Austria, I believe, they have something different, a sweet brioche bread. It's called Allerseelenstriezel or also Totenbrot, and that would translate to All Souls Braid or Death Bread. And it's a sweet bread shaped like a braid, like braided hair. And the reason for that lies actually in ancient Greek cultures and rituals. A lot of cultures around the world had that when someone died, that the grieving widow would then cut off her braid as a sign of grief. Also, the ancient Germanic tribes did that. And they're very well known for their long hair and braided hair. There were lots of finds about that. And that is why in this area, it is still a custom until today. And depending on where exactly you are, the customs will vary a little bit. And in some areas, this bread is traditionally made on the 2nd of November and is given from the godparent to their godchild. Other areas, you will go to the local pub and they will make the bread there, and then you will gamble all night long basically to win that bread. In other areas, you actually use it as an offering. So you would bring it to the cemetery or to the graveyard and then place it on the grave. Back in the times, there were 2 more customs that were done with that. One would be to give it to the poor souls, meaning the beggars or the people without any means, as a sign of goodwill. And another very peculiar custom was to make braids of straw instead of braids of bread and give it to the single ladies, the unmarried ladies, as a tool to mock them. Society had different values back in the times. Getting dark now, and now I'm going out to do my little ritual and let my soul boat float down the river. And I just wanted to share with you guys how I go about that, like how I make it into a ritual. I will light the candle that I have on fire. The candle is actually just a tangerine filled with a little bit of olive oil, and it will only burn for half an hour maximum. And that way everything that the boat is made of can be decomposed by nature, so not to harm any wildlife, which is very important if you want to do that too. Then I'll set it on the water and let it float down the river, and while I can see the little light still burning, I'll think about my grandparents, because that's who I had in mind when I made it, and I'll think about their qualities, what they have taught me in life, what I can learn from them, from either their mistakes or their personality, anything that would benefit me, and I'll just honor their memory like that until I can't see the light anymore. Now, a word of caution, obviously, if you live in a very dry climate, don't want to do that, that would be stupid.